Ask Reddit, what's something in your country that genuinely scares you? Greek here. The fact that things that should be working safely aren't. Last year, a passenger train crashed head-first into a freight train because the changing of the tracks on Greek railways is done manually by remote workers through a communication system, and something was communicated wrong. 57 people lost their lives because the direction of a passenger train wasn't changed manually. This happened after multiple complaints across multiple years from people in charge of the railway were sent to the government about how unsafe the system is currently, which were all ignored. On top of that, there seems to be a very intentional cover-up of the whole incident, possibly because something bigger is tied to the explosion that happened during the crash and killed many of the victims. For one, the crash site was covered with gravel and concrete a week after the crash, allegedly to cover up evidence. Also, video evidence that was showing what was loaded into the freight train before it started its course went mysteriously missing. Now most of us are not only even more skeptical of our government, as if we weren't before, but we also don't trust the railway or the metro to not literally kill us. The sheer amount of mentally ill people wandering the streets. I'm talking the extreme cases. Experiencing psychotic breakdowns in public and being left alone to spiral out of control. Frightening and heartbreaking. I'm not sure what country you're in, but I'm in the United States in a heavily populated city. And there's not enough mental hospitals or beds for anyone. Yet they continue to build more housing and more people continue to move here. Statistically, 1 in 4 people have some kind of mental illness, yet the topic still continues to not get a lot of attention and has a major lack of funding for all cities. I actually just had a friend who was killed by the police because he was schizophrenic and in the middle of a psychotic break. The police had to come detain him and take him in on an involuntary psychiatric hold. The mental hospital ended up releasing him within 2 hours because they said they had no beds available for him. He ended up being shot and killed by the police 8 hours later. I'm from the United States. I don't care about people having different political opinions or beliefs, but there is a massive issue on people being misinformed and wildly uneducated on certain topics. Isaac Asimov saw this coming. There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. The absolute idiots running this country, and that they are letting convicted pedophiles go free while they send police to investigate children for saying something hurtful to someone else in their class. The fact that people are just letting the government get away with pitting us against one another while they get richer. TV news media. I feel as though there is zero objectivity, honesty, or actual unbiased news in mainstream media. It's just a propaganda machine for one side or the other. US. Ignorance. Most are not willing to invest the time to understand, gain knowledge on what is happening in our country, which leads to poor decisions based on headlines and social media posts. It will sound bad, but immigration. I don't want my progressive country of Spain to become more and more Islamic. It baffles me that the hard left defends Islam like their lives depend on it. The same people who would get them into power would be the first people to be on the chopping block. It's absolutely disgusting. The number of people that use social media as their news source. The number of people that can't properly identify fascism. The number of people who believe these ridiculous woke rules. The fact that common sense no longer exists. Stray dogs. Literally wild animals running the streets and killing people, and nothing gets done at all. Terrified of my kids playing in the street. A becoming Sharia country. We'll get downvoted, but I agree. I have no issue with immigration. I'm very good friends with a few Slovakians and some Slovenians. But when you're being told to get off a certain street because you're white and women I know are harassed and called whores for not being in a habaya or hijab, that's too far. I'm from Ireland, and at the moment, there are a large number of crises converging and reaching tipping points because the governance over the last decade has been so unbelievably ineffectual. Wages are good, but that's about it. There are not enough houses, so homelessness is at an all-time high. Rents are astronomically high if you're lucky enough to find a place. House prices are climbing almost day by day. Juvenile delinquency and violent crimes are becoming extremely common, and because police pensions have been slashed, there aren't enough of them being recruited, and any time one of them actually does bother doing their job, the courts are as likely to let someone walk free as convict them. A lot of this has given rise to a wave of right-wing nationalism, with certain parties running for our upcoming election on the basis that Ireland is full, targeting asylum seekers and refugees with online hate and, in some extreme cases, violence. There have been spates of arson attacks on buildings that are rumored to be earmarked for direct provision for immigrants. About a year ago, a young girl was attacked by a man with a knife and hurt grievously in Dublin city centre. It was rumored this man was not Irish, and within hours these knuckle-draggers were out to protect Irish children, and the city was being looted, police attacked, city buses and trams were being burnt out all over the city. Things are bad over here at the moment, and it's hard to see how they're going to improve because it's just f***ing everything at the minute. Fellow Irish lass here. Things are challenged for sure, but as far as countries go, I still think we're doing pretty well, tbh. Nothing is perfect and no country is either. I still agree with everything you said, but I think we still fare pretty well on the scariometer. Is there anything you're scared of in your country? Feel free to share in the comments below. Please consider subscribing and liking for more daily videos.